I'm going to show you a method I've been using to restore woodrail pinball wood trim. Because woodrail pinballs are so old, the wood trim either gets worn away, chipped, or it usually gets very, very dirty from people handling it. This particular one is from a 1950 Gottlieb bowlette, technically not a pinball, but same mechanics and the same construction and everything. And this one isn't too bad, but this is the back box top rail that just happens to be removable because that's how you get the back glass out, is you remove the top rail. This one shows some dirt and wear along the top here and just overall age. And I don't like to sand these rails because then they look too new. You get down to more of the white wood. If you can avoid it, or if I can avoid it, I prefer not to sand these rails. So what I do is I just reflow the lacquer is what I try to do. That's my first attempt. I reflow the lacquer. So far, about 90% of the time, that's all I have to do. Sometimes I don't even have to recoat it with any lacquer. I can just wax it. Other times the rails are in really bad shape and damaged, and sometimes you do have to use some sanding. But if they aren't that bad and they're just really dirty and they have a few worn spots in them, you can make them look a lot better without actually altering their aged appearance that you want to usually maintain. So I use lacquer thinner because these always had a clear coat of lacquer on them. And you get a rag really wet with lacquer thinner. And you just slowly wipe. And you can see what comes off on the towel is a lot of dirt and some of the lacquer. So again, what you're doing is you're reflowing. You're melting and reflowing the lacquer. That's one of the really nice things about lacquer finishes, is that you can do this. Now sometimes I'll let it flash off, and I'll come back and do it again with a clean side of the rag, because after a while your rag gets built up. And it actually does a better job after the first pass if you go over it again. Your rag has to be quite wet with the lacquer thinner, and of course you want to wear protective gloves. Okay, now let's do one of the bottom rails that are on the back box here. Now this is 64-year-old lacquer. Again, you can see what comes off. That's dirt and old lacquer. The yellowish color is probably more the old lacquer, and the darker brown is the dirt that was on the rail. So you're not removing any of the aged appearance, but you're just cleaning up. So we're still getting a little bit of the old lacquer off. Now you could just strip the whole thing off if you're not careful, and you don't really want to go that far. You just want to reflow it as much as is needed. And it still has a nice shine to it. Some wax would just make that look very, very nice. Here's another example of reflowing the old lacquer and cleaning it. These are the side rails of the bowlette game. This is just after reflowing the lacquer with lacquer thinner on a rag. That's all the original old lacquer that's been respread over the rail. I haven't done any sanding to the rails, and I haven't waxed this yet, so it's going to even get a little bit better looking than this.